Right, so today we are going to be looking at the proper way to configure the Ubiquiti ONU. On the screen right now you can see that we have got this diagram that we have on the screen. So this diagram, basically what you can see here is just a basic diagram to show us the very simple schematic diagram for just a generic customer connection in terms of the traffic flow and how the traffic moves from the customer router all the way to the PE and to the particular servers that the router communicates with in this particular connectivity. So yeah, so let's dig deep into this video. So what you can see here is that so here you can see that we've got our core network, and on that core network we've got a lot of servers that connect to this particular core network. But in this instance, or in this particular training, we're just going to be looking at the PPPoE server and the UNMS server, which is our network management system that manages the Ubiquiti platform equipment. So basically what we just want to look at here is that the proper way to configure this particular guy here, which is the ONU. So let's just name this guy the ONU, right? So this guy here is the ONU. I can't see that, so let's change that color. Let's put something that's a bit visible. Okay, cool. So that's the ONU. So you can see here we've got the ONU there. All right. So basically, what we want what I just want to highlight here is that as we look at this diagram, we see that we've got particular devices and a particular channel that the traffic flows from this particular router. So this is just general customer equipment. So there's really nothing more that we can install unless if the customer has got a particular device after these devices. So if you look here, we've got the ONU, we've got this router here, and over here we have got this PE, and we have got this these lines. So basically this represents a switch, so which is our access switch in this particular training. So this is our access switch with this particular IP address. So I'm going to be using Rod's view as I go through this training, Rod's view POP. So basically what we're going to look at is that first thing, we want to look at the general connections of the access network from the PE all the way to the customer equipment. So basically, if you look here at this PE, what is mainly configured here for this customer to be able to connect to this PE? The first thing that we want to configure for this particular customer. So this customer here, I think we're just going to call this customer here, I guess let's just say this customer is double agenda. All right, let's drag this guy back in here. Okay, let's fix that. So this is double agenda. Right. So what we want to do here is that on this PE, we have got just one or two things that we configure on this particular provider edge router. So this particular PE here, we configure what we call a VLAN, right? So what's a VLAN, right? I can't see that. Okay. So here we configure what we call a VLAN, right? So a VLAN. So basically, what a VLAN is, VLAN basically means virtual local area network. So what virtual local area network is just a number or an ID that is generic to each and every customer that connects to this particular provider edge router. So this generic number, what it does is that every traffic that comes, or every communication between this particular PE and this customer, what happens is that we create a virtual network between this router and this router, right? So what happens is that, and when we look at this, when we create this particular virtual network, we are allowing this router and the PE to have a communication that another customer cannot intervene, right? So what we are basically doing here is to create what is called a domain, right? So this domain is the broadcast domain, right? So that's what a VLAN does. A VLAN just basically separates a network from another network. So we can have 20, 30, 100, 200 customers connecting to the same provider edge router, and each and every customer will be in their own broadcast domain, and they will have their own particular virtual LAN ID, right? So we're going to be looking at, we're going to be digging into the actual devices. We're going to be looking into the actual devices and how we configure the VLANs on this particular PE, and also to be able to see how the traffic flows now between this provider edge router to the customer, right? So now when that is done, right, after this provider edge router, we've got what we call an access switch. So what this access switch does is that you have a switch that would connect probably one to many devices, right? Because remember, what the PE is just a router. It does not have a lot of interfaces. So the switch comes with interfaces that we can have that can connect 10, 15, 20 customers, right? Or 20 devices to that particular switch. So in an instance where we want to connect another OLT, there we want to connect to something else, want a direct customer to connect to this particular switch for some other purposes, right? This switch will be able now to connect a lot of devices. Okay, so now from this particular PE, the interface that is connecting to this access switch is an Ether1 on the PE, right? And on the access switch is going also to Ether1, right? So this particular connection here that you see here is basically a trunk, right? So we've got a trunk here. So we've got a trunk here, right? So we've got a trunk. So what this trunk, so this is a trunk, because remember what we want to do, what a trunk does is that a trunk can pass a lot of VLANs, right? Because what we want to achieve is we want to be able to move traffic from each and every customer that connects to this particular provider edge router within their own VLAN So we want these particular connections to be a trunk. So we can always discuss further about what the trunk does and stuff like that. But in this particular video, this trunk, we are configuring this particular connection here to be a trunk because we want a lot of VLANs to be able to pass through this particular trunk. And not only any VLAN can pass through, we can specify what VLANs we want to pass through this particular trunk, because remember, at the end of the day, we want to be able to manage that particular traffic. So we don't want any VLAN to just pass through this particular trunk. Then on this access switch here, on an interface that connects to the OIT at this particular pop, this is SFP1, right? So SFP1 is the one that connects to this OIT. Then on the OIT, we've got SFP plus. So this is a 10G interface that's connected on this OIT. Then from this OIT, we've got, I think this is a 4-port OIT. So that means that this OIT has got 4 different PON SFP ports on this OIT. So there's another port there. So right now we're just going to be looking at this PON 1. All right. So here what we are looking at is that from this PON 1, this is now fiber, right? So this is now the fiber, right? This is now the fiber here from this SFP. So from here, from when we connect the fiber to the SFP, it goes straight. Now these things are now underground. So these things will be this from this PON. We've got what we call a primary splitter. This primary splitter will be somewhere along the rod in a particular manhole, and also this secondary splitter somewhere also along the rod. So this is now the physical infrastructure that will be out there in the world, right? So then so this is just basically a basic setup, right? So from the primary splitter, it goes to a secondary splitter. Then from a secondary splitter, the fiber techs, they will choose a particular core on this primary splitter, on this secondary splitter, to connect to this ONU, right? Then to the router. Then here, from the ONU to the router, there's Ethernet there. We have got that's Ethernet there, right? So let's just call that Cat5e, right? So here we have got a Cat5e here, right? That's the one that connects to between the ONU and the customer router. Okay, so basically what we want to do here is that, as you can see here, this dotted line going around to the customer, this is just basically creating that virtual connectivity between the customer and the provider edge router, right? For that particular traffic flow that's going to be flowing all the way to the PE for the connectivity, right? So, all right, let's remove that. So basically, this is just a basic diagram, right? But what we want to mainly look at is that this is very important. The reason why I am showing this diagram is because this is very important, because for you to be able to configure this ONU properly, you need to be able to have this information either in your head, in your mind, or maybe you've got it on paper or in your laptop somewhere, right? So you have to have knowledge of this particular connectivity. Otherwise, you're going to be putting the wrong information on this device here, on this ONU here, right? Because this is we are going to need that information configured on this ONU. So basically, maybe for people who might not be able to maybe if you don't know what where this customer is located, which primary splitter they connect to, which secondary splitter they connect to, right? the fiber text will be able to identify and actually be able to inform you that this customer is connecting on this primary splitter, on this number, what on the particular core on the secondary splitter, right? Right. So basically, this is the diagram that you should have, so that at least you are able to know the connectivity from this particular customer, right? So even when the texts are going on site, like the last video which I did, also if you did watch it, you'd see that I was explaining and I did emphasize on the text that will be going into the field, that is very important for them to have the network diagram, right? So this is just a very simple network diagram that is showing how this connectivity is, or basically the connectivity between this customer and the PE. So at least when this diagram is uploaded to that particular job card that the tech is going to be attending to, you know, the admin is able to log in there to see the job card or the diagram, and you'll be able now to name or to be able to describe or to put a description onto this ONU, because now you've got this diagram that is showing you that the customer is connected to the what primary splitter, to what number secondary splitter. Because remember that on this particular primary splitter we can have at least up to 16 of these secondary splitters, right? Because this pawn, because this particular pawn connects up to 128 customers, right? So for us to be able to achieve that, you should be able, on the primary splitter, you should have a 16-way splitter, right? So a 16-way splitter will give us 16 secondary splitters, which will end up giving you 128 customers that would connect to this particular pawn, right? So okay, so now let's get into the PE. Let's see how the VLAN is configured, right? And the correct way to configure the VLAN. And also we'll log into the access switch and see how it's configured in the access switch. And we'll also log into the OIT and see how it's also configured in the OIT. How it's also configured in the OIT, right? So all these other devices in the field between the OIT and the ONU, these are all passive devices, right? Not active, so they are out there in the field, in the manholes, just forwarding the traffic through. Okay, so now we are going to log into the OIT. So here we go. So basically, let's just close all these tabs here, right? So last time, I think for the admins, they would know how to log into this. But if you don't, you should have to watch my previous video where I was showing you how to use the Winbox, how you should log in, and stuff like that. So this is the Rhodes VPE, as you can see here, with this IP address, which is also on the diagram, right? Which is also on the diagram, right? So which is also on the diagram. So you can see here on the diagrams that the PE, we have got a particular IP address which I have put there on the diagram, showing you that this is the PE you should be able to, you should log into. So let's log into the PE. Then we go to interface, VLAN, right? So remember, we are dealing with a customer called double agenda. So we look for double agenda there. In an instance where this customer does not have a VLAN, you come here, you click that plus sign, which is add, right? Let's say the customer is going to have a particular VLAN that is on Ether 1. Remember, like I've said in the previous page, which I've just closed there on the diagram, that remember, you have to know the interface which the access switch is connecting to from the PE, which is Ether 1. Then you put the VLAN here, which is just the VLAN name. This is just a generic name. So VLAN, let's say 2739, right? Then here, this is where you put that unique number for any customer. So here 2739, right? Then on the interface, you have to know which interface the customer is connecting to, right? You have to know which interface the customer is connecting to. So in this instance, the interface to the access switch, you can see here, it's actually, you can see this description there, access switch, you put there your VLAN, right? So you put there your interface, then you apply, right? So you can see here now that the VLAN has been successfully applied into the PE, right? There we go, there, right? So when that is done, you put your description, right? So it's either you describe that VLAN, or you double click there, you put a comment there, you just say double agenda, right? Agenda, right? You just put double agenda there, then you say what? You say okay. So you can see now we have got two double agendas here, right? Then now when you've configured your interface, right? You want to go to the PPP. You want to go to the PPP here. You go on the PPP server. So here, this is where you now put that particular VLAN, because you want the customer connectivity to be able to connect to this particular PE, right? So here you go there, you remove that, right? Or you can put the service name if you want to. Then you navigate, or you look for that VLAN which you have configured. So let's go there. So you can see that's there. There's a VLAN 2739 there, right? Then after that you apply, right? So I'm gonna delete the actual one. So I'm gonna delete this particular VLAN here, because we don't want that, because we've got this VLAN here. Right, so when that is done, there's nothing else that you need to do here, because that is going to allow that VLAN that's going to allow the PPP of the customer, the PPPoE of the customer, to connect through this VLAN to the PPPoE server, right? When that's done, then we go to, all right, so let's close down this page here. So now that is done, the configuration is done on the PE. So now we go to the switch, right? We log into our switch. So the IP of the switch is 10.4.150.10, right? You can see here that the uplink to the PE is Ether1, right? Then also to the OOT, you can also see there that it's SFP2, right? To the PE. So basically, what we want to do here, let's close down this page. So here I'm not going to be showing you a lot of configuration. I'm just going to go straight to where you configure the VLAN. So you go under the bridge, right? So it's gonna open. You see there's an access bridge there configured. If you go on the interfaces, you'll be able to see the interfaces configured under that particular bridge. Then here, under the VLANs, that's where you should be able to see that particular VLAN. So we are going to be looking for VLAN 2738, right? So 2738, right? Oh, okay. So let's go down there. So you can see that 2738 is within the range here, 2726 to 3000. So you can see that it's falling under this particular VLAN range, right? It's falling under this particular VLAN range, right? But in the instance where you want to add a VLAN, you just go there, you select that particular bridge, right? There's only one bridge here, so you're going to select plenty of bridges. Then you put that particular VLAN. Then you want to tag the interfaces, right? You want to be able to tag the interfaces that your VLAN is passing through, right? So your VLAN is going to pass through Ether1, which is your trunk link to PE1, right? Then you want to also tag the interface to the OLT, right? This is also another trunk to the OLT, right? So when you do that, then you what? Then you apply, right? So when that is done, now we can log out of this access switch, right? So what's next now? So what's next now is to get into this guy. So this is the guy 10.4.198.70. You go to your browser, right? You go to your browser, you type here the IP of the OLT. It will log in straight. You put your username and password to the OLT, right? When you have logged into the OLT, you can see here that we have got particular PON ports, like I was explaining earlier, that you have got 4 different ports on this particular OLT. There's another type of OLT which has got 8 PON interfaces here, right? So then this is our uplink to the PE. So you can see here our uplink to the switch. Sorry, to the switch. So you can see here uplink to switch, which is negotiated 1G link to the access switch, right? So you can see real-time traffic flow on this particular OLT, right? So you can also see here that we've got 39 total online ONUs that are online right now. Then we've got a total of 48 ONUs. So basically now you can actually see that we have got about 9 ONUs that are not online right now. Probably maybe the customer switched off the equipment, or there's no electricity and stuff like that, right? So what you want to do here is that, so when you log here, under this particular OLT, if you come here, this is where you configure the VLANs for each and every customer, right? So you can see that these are other customers here. How you configure the VLAN? You just go there, add VLAN. You put the VLAN ID 2739. You specify the name of the customer. Okay, so it's telling you that the VLAN is already in use. So let's try one, right? So here, this is just an example, double agenda, right? You put your name there, you just say add, right? So when you've added that particular VLAN there, you apply and you save here. You come here, you look for the particular ONU that the text in the field are installing, right? So in this instance, let's look for double agenda, right? So you can see here, when you search double agenda, you see here that double agenda, there it is. We click there on that sign there, you'll be able to see the configuration of this particular ONU. So you can see here the name of the ONU, and then other configurations on this ONU. If you go on the VLAN, under the VLAN, you'll be able to see there that we've got what we call a native VLAN. That's a topic for another day, but basically native VLAN is just like the VLAN 1 that passes traffic from the customer to the PE when there is no traffic that is tagged with a VLAN with a particular ID. So when we do not have tagged traffic, that's when it uses this native VLAN from the customer, which means that there won't be a VLAN from the customer router side. So this is the ID that will be used to pass through that traffic to the PE. Right, so here we can see the tagged VLAN, right? You can see there that's tagged VLANs. So you can tag as many VLANs as you want. You can put another VLAN 111, right? So if you see there it's saying VLAN is not defined, it means you didn't add the VLAN here. So this is also something that I wanted to show you, that if you didn't configure the VLAN here under the VLAN, you won't be able to successfully configure the VLAN on the ONU, right? It will give you an error. So let's just say you want to put VLAN 3001, right? It will tell you that there's no such a VLAN, right? Or for example, if you just click there to show you particular VLANs that are already configured on this. If your VLAN is in a particular range, you just click that particular range, then you save, right? So after you are done with that, then that is done. So one thing that is also very important is to make sure that when you go under the UNMS, right? Under the UNMS, you log into the UNMS, you go here, you search, right? You search for, let's just go there, you search for your particular IoT, right? You go under roads view, let's log into the roads view, right? Then here you go to the ONUs, you go on the ONU tab there, right? So what we want to do here, we want to search for double agenda, right? So we search for double agenda, right? So you can see that this naming here, this is very important, guys. So this naming is very important. So this is where now I was saying that you have to know that connectivity between this ONU and this guy, right? Because when you are naming the ONU, you're going to specify the primary splitter and the secondary splitter that the ONU connects to, right? So let's go back here. So here you see that we have got this P3 is the PON 3, right? Then P1 is the primary splitter one. Then this is secondary splitter. It's not specified. So it means this ONU is not actually configured properly, right? So after you log in, you search for a particular ONU, or if it's not configured with a particular description name, the text will be able to give you a particular serial number, which will be like this here, UBNT with part of the MAC address of the ONU. Then what you have to do now, you have to click assign, right? So when you click assign here, you can search if there is double agenda in the system. You can see there's no double agenda. You want to click where it says new client, right? New client. You click there. So then you say double. There you say last name agenda, right? If it's a customer, a particular customer, you can also put their name and their surname there, right? Then one thing that you have to also know is the address or the location, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for that particular customer's location. So I'm gonna come here. I'm just gonna look for the customer location. So I've searched already here, double agenda. Then I've searched here. This is the GPS coordinates for this particular customer. Then I'm gonna come back to this guy. I'm gonna come back to the IoT in UISP. Then I'm gonna put the location there. Then I'm gonna click enter, right? So when you click enter, it's going to point exactly where the customer location is, right? It's going to point exactly where the customer location is, right? So you can choose to see exactly, maybe for some instance, the customer sends you the location, or the location was sent, and you can see here that it's actually on the wrong, on the road, but I know that the customer is here, right? This is the customer's location. So here it's connecting to secondary splitter 1. So this is the correct way to configure or to name the ONU, right? You have to name the particular PON number, the primary splitter, and the secondary splitter that the customer connects to. So this will give, the good thing about this now is that when there is a faulty or someone, or there is a new person who is going to be attending to that particular customer, you'll be able to tell them exactly the steps to how the customer connects to the network. The customer is on port 3, primary splitter 1, secondary splitter 1, right? And you can actually even send them this location to them, and they'll go straight to the customer's place to start attending to the fault. Then after you're done with that, you say assign. So in an instant where you have to put the phone number of the customer, you can add here, you can put the email address of the customer, you can put a service plan. Then when you say create and assign, automatically you see that the ONU is going to turn from gray to active. So now this ONU is now active, right? So you can see there, right? And remember, we've also configured the VLAN for this customer, right? If you click there on that ONU, right? So if the ONU is not active, you won't be able to click. So you have to first activate that ONU. Then here you'll be able to go to the network. You'll be able to see the configurations on this. So you can see that there we have configured the ONU VLAN there. So it will just adopt the VLAN that you've configured from the OET direct here. Then you can also here you can also see the neighborship between the ONU and the attached device to the ONU. So you can see here the attached device is the router board, and this is the MAC address of the particular device that's attaching to this ONU, right? And this is the type of the interface connected. It's an Ethernet port, right? It can also see, so you are also able to see the neighborship between this particular ONU and the router, right? So now you can see that. Let's just go back to our diagram, right? So now you can see that we are in this OIT. We have already configured this ONU. We can now see the MAC address of this router and things like that, right? So now, when that is done, your customer is up and you're good to go, and your customer is now able to browse, right? So the guys that will be on site will be able to log into this ONU or router. They'll be able to even give you the VLAN that is configured on the router, but you should be able to see the VLAN configured from the PE side to this particular customer. So guys, that's done. So our training is done. So basically, just a recap on this. So remember the connectivity. So now, one last thing before we finish. Remember, I had put this. So I've already showed you how this works. We've already logged into this particular server here. So let's also put the IP address for this server. Maybe someone might not be aware that you can log into this. So this is okay. Right, let's just expand that. Okay, so the IP is 41.1.1.a, right? Or you can log in with unms.telco. Okay, sorry about that. CW, right? All right, so you can see that. So the reason I put this is basically when I logged into the PE, when we went to the PPP, that's where you configure the particular VLAN that will be that the traffic is going to be allowed to pass through for connectivity between this PE and this particular PPOE server, right? So basically that's the main reason that why we put these particular two servers in this scenario, right? So yeah, so basically and also one thing I wanted to show you was that if you come back here, right? Okay, let's go back to this here. So if you take this particular MAC address here, right, you go into the PE, right, and you go IP neighbors, right. If you come here and you paste that particular MAC address, you'll be able to see the neighborship, the neighborship between the customer and this particular provider edge router. And if you double click on there, you should be able to get the layer 2 connectivity between this particular PE and the customer router. Right, so if maybe just for verification purposes, and you'd like to just check if the customer is configured properly, you can say mark telnet there, right? Then you can put the username of this particular router. Let's just get the password to this router, right? So let's copy that. Let's go back to our PE. Let's paste this, right? All right. So we're not getting a full. All right. So basically, for instance, you want to check via the back end of the router, the configurations, right? So in an instance, let's say this customer is already connected to, right? So there is double agenda, right? So we can still check, go to the terminal, right? Use system SSH user admin address. We put the IP address of the customer 239.239. Okay. Right. Alright, let's just try to telnet into that router 239. Oh, sorry, 239. So let's say that. Right, let's paste that. Right, so we are in that router. We go interface VLAN print. We see that particular VLAN configured on this router. We can see the interface that is being used at the customer side is Ether4. You can see the particular interfaces on this particular router. You can see that Ether4 is the running interface. You can see R there. R, you can see that is described as running. So you can see there. You can check what interfaces are configured under that under that particular bridge. You can see that there's only one interface configured on that particular bridge, which is the wireless interface. You can also verify the particular IP address configured on this customer router just by doing this. You should be able to just see. You can see there that the IP address of the public IP of the customer, the LAN IP there, and stuff like that. So this is just some troubleshooting that one can do just to verify some particular configurations remotely for this particular customer. All right, thank you, Team Telco. Have a good day.